We are on track to continue construction of the manufacturing facility, and with that, to bring online the thousands of Georgia jobs that this project will create and support. So again, to be very clear about the news this morning, it's exciting news, positive news for the state of Georgia, for our economic future, and for job creation in the state of Georgia. Rivian and the Department of Energy, at my urging and encouragement, have reached a nearly $6 billion conditional loan agreement necessary to restart construction at the Rivian manufacturing plant that is under construction in Georgia, and to ensure that not just we avoid wasting potentially billions of dollars of Georgia taxpayer dollars, but also that we're in position to get this plant up and running and to create and support thousands of jobs here in the state of Georgia. And with that, I am eager to take your questions. Jake will call on you. Please use the hand raise function if you have one.
Great. Thank you so much, Senator. Let's go over to Drew with the AJC to start, and then we'll go over to Marlon and Doug.
Drew.
Hey there. Good morning. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning.
Thanks, Jake. First question, I was wondering if you could share, so this is a conditional commitment. I was curious if you could share any additional information on the terms, requirements that the company will need to meet, and then also the time frame that they have to pay back the loan.
I'll have my team send you all of the details as well as connect you with the Department of Energy Loan Program Office to get you that information. This is a typical arrangement where the Loan Program Office, that's the LPO at the Department of Energy, reaches an agreement for a loan with a manufacturer like Rivian. And the conditional loan agreement means that the loan is dependent upon Rivian sustaining its compliance with a range of conditions that are written into law and regulation. But Drew, I will have my team get you all the details and every detail that you require for your reporting.
All right. Thanks very much. If you don't mind, one more quick question sort of related to that. So as you are probably aware, Rivian does not own the site proper yet currently. They're essentially leasing it from the state. I was curious if you had any more information you could share about how that mechanism works, how they can close on the loan without actually owning the property and the physical space there yet.
I would refer you to Rivian and to the state of Georgia for details on the real estate arrangements and the land use agreement. But what I'm confident is that this project, which was stalled this spring, and about which there was great concern that it might not restart, that potentially billions of dollars of Georgia taxpayer funds that have been committed to support it could have been wasted or lost. Rivian is committing to restarting construction of this facility with the support of this federal loan.
All right. Thanks very much.
Sure.
Of course, thanks, Drew. Now let's go over to Doug Reardon with Atlanta News First. Doug.
Hey guys, can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can, Doug.
Excellent. Hey, Senator. So the Trump administration obviously has been very hesitant to support EV production and buying. Do you see that impacting the success of the Rivian plant once it's finally online?
I will oppose any policy steps by the incoming administration that threaten Georgia's economic development. You know, between the bipartisan infrastructure law that we passed 2 years ago and the manufacturing incentives that we passed supporting electric vehicle manufacturing, battery production, advanced and renewable energy manufacturing, semiconductor manufacturing, these federal policies have helped support a boom in Georgia manufacturing and manufacturing investment. And your question brings me to an important point that I want to make sure everybody hears, which is that this loan is supported by the Inflation Reduction Act, those manufacturing incentives that we passed. And Senator Warnock and I worked very closely to ensure that those manufacturing incentives supported Georgia's economic development, played to Georgia's strengths, and addressed Georgia's particular needs. If the incoming administration or the next Congress advance legislation that will undermine Georgia's economic development, that will remove support from this facility, from the Hyundai plant in Bryan County, from the Q-Cells facilities in Dalton and Cartersville, from the semiconductor manufacturing facilities that are coming online and expanding. I'll oppose any effort to undermine Georgia's economic development, and I would call upon state and federal leaders in Georgia, whether Democrat or Republican, to stand up and fight for Georgia's economic future.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Doug. We'll go over to Marlon with WABE. Marlon?
Hey, good morning, Senator Ossoff. Thank you, Jake. So I similarly want the same information that's going to Drew. Can you also send a copy over to me? And my question, some may see this as a bailout of a company and the government being forced to invest even more in it after huge state tax breaks. Is this method sustainable?
Look, I believe that this Rivian plant is an important part, a crucial part of Georgia's economic future, and that there was a real risk that the billions of dollars of state funds that had been committed and the hundreds of millions that had already been spent might have been wasted or lost had construction not restarted on the facility. But the economic incentives, the manufacturing incentives, and the infrastructure law that we passed at the federal level are meant to supercharge Georgia's economic development, to support job creation in the state of Georgia, and to support the growth of Georgia manufacturing. That's why I stepped in here and engaged personally with the Secretary of Energy and requested that the Loan Program Office of the Department of Energy and Rivian arrive at an agreement to support the continued construction of this Rivian facility. And Rivian says that they will restart construction of the plant with this additional support.
Also, just like a second follow-up. So in total, how much money has been committed to this Rivian project?
My understanding is that the state has committed billions of dollars and hundreds of millions have already been spent. One thing I want to make sure that is clear in response to your question is that this Department of Energy support is in the form of a loan where taxpayers have the opportunity to recoup the investment.
Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you, Marlon. I will go over to Kayla with Columbus Ledger.
Morning, Senator Ossoff. How are you?
I'm fine, Kayla. I can't see you, but good to hear you.
Good to hear you as well and see you. Two questions. One is about sort of, you called and wrote to Granholm over the past several months. And why do you think this loan got approved now? And why did you have to push so hard to get this approved?
It's my job to fight for Georgia. So where I see a threat to Georgia's economic future and this project stalling at the build site was a threat to Georgia's economic future, it's my job and my obligation to fight for Georgia. That's why I push so hard to encourage the Department of Energy to support Rivian's efforts in Georgia and to award this loan in order to support the restart of construction at the build site.
And is it technically finalized? I understand there's several stages that need to sort of occur between now and when the actual loan is finalized.
Well, as I mentioned to Drew earlier, when the Loan Program Office at the Department of Energy enters into a loan agreement with a company, it is typically in the form of a conditional loan agreement. And what that means is that the loan is conditional upon the company sustaining its compliance with the terms of the loan and the relevant provisions of law. And I'm happy to have my team follow up with you to walk you through how that process works and what those conditions are. But there is no question that this is a major step forward for this key economic development initiative in the state of Georgia.
Mm-hmm. And sorry, one last question. It was stated that this was the second largest economic development project in the state's history. Is it still the second largest? Since it will continue? And you've mentioned the word historic a few times. Historic how? Historic in just the size of the loan for Georgia?
Well, as for where this ranks against other major industrial projects in Georgia, I want to make sure I get you precise numbers. We've seen over the last few years, as a result of the infrastructure law and the manufacturing incentives that we passed, a renaissance, an explosion of manufacturing investment in the state of Georgia. The rapid growth of investment in the Hyundai plant and their joint venture with LG, the rapid growth of the Hanwha Q-Cells industrial plant in Commerce and Dalton, where they're working for the first time ever in the United States to build out a fully integrated solar value chain, the investments in semiconductor manufacturing, battery manufacturing. So we have seen, as a result of the infrastructure law and these federal manufacturing incentives, tremendous growth and announcements on a range of projects. I'll have my team follow up with you to get you precisely where we believe this ranks now. And as for this being a historic moment, look, there was real concern last spring that construction might never restart at the Rivian site. There was real concern last spring that the thousands of jobs promised by this development might never be created. There was real concern that the billions of dollars that the state of Georgia had committed to support the project might be wasted or lost. And what we have now is a major step forward to ensure that this plant is built in Georgia.